If you are specifically interested in the game that the thumbnail and the title are referring to, featuring Lurantis, that is going to be the third game, so I've timestamped it in the description below. As always, I think the games are all pretty exciting, but if that's the one you want to check out specifically, you can skip right to it, so yeah. Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the online series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we used a really fun team featuring Mimikyu and Calyrex-Ice Rider. First time using Calyrex-Ice Rider in Series 10, so we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. Thanks once again to Bass for the team. Details are in the description below, including a rental and a paste. And yeah, let's just get into things. First game of the day, and we're up against Xerneas with A-Ninetales. Okay. I actually played against a very similar team the other day. A-Ninetales has been pretty interesting. I've seen it on some teams lately. How do we deal with Xerneas? Amoonguss is what really scares me here, because it's like, if they didn't have Amoonguss, yeah, we can just set up Trick Room, right? And then, oh, well, actually, we have Tapu Fini, and they don't have terrain control. So it's probably still to just set up Trick Room, and then, bring out Fini to counter them. If I'm my opponent, I'm probably just leading. You'd go Amoonguss Xern. Amoonguss plus Xerneas, or Incin plus Xerneas, right? If you go Incin plus Xerneas, you can't deny me Trick Room. If I go Incin plus Mimikyu, they could fake me out and then Trick Room, which then I could Parting Shot. Might seem a little weird, but I honestly want to just go with Mimikyu and Fini immediately. Calyrex in the back, and oh, I hope I got that in on time. I wanted Lurantis, but I'm not sure I got it, so we'll see. Either way, even if we didn't, I guess Lurantis plus Calyrex could be okay, actually, because you would give me a attack boost immediately, and then I pressure with Trick Room anyway, so we'll see. This was not an easy matchup to pick for, honestly, so I'm not 100% sure what the play was. They go Amoonguss plus Xerneas, okay? So, thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like, and then, like I said, details for the team are in the description below, so feel free to try it out yourselves. And thanks to Bass for the team once again. It is Xerneas plus Amoonguss. That's kind of what I was expecting, which was the idea behind leading Tapu Fini here. I guess the problem, if you're my opponent, you probably just follow me, right? Or sorry, Rage Powder. Okay, I did get the Pokemon I wanted here. Obviously, I can just Trick Room. I really wish we had Haze here, but I wonder if they respect the Haze and play around it. Honestly, I don't mind going for Trick Room and Dazzle here. Especially because they could switch into Gastrodon, and they just Dazzle themselves. Okay. That's fine by me. I feel like if Xerneas doesn't get set up in this game, my Calyrex should win. So I'm fine with that. Amoonguss maybe can go for Sludge Bomb or Grass Knot, but like that's great damage from Specs Dazzling onto them already. Oh, they're gonna Pollen Puff themselves, right? Oh no, they don't. But they can Pollen Puff themselves, obviously. Now this is where this next turn is really interesting, because the play I want to make is to hard switch Fini out into Calyrex and just Shadow Sneak. But it's risky because they might Moonblast us. Like if you're my opponent, what you can do is Pollen Puff your Xerneas and then attack, right? So I almost want the free switch in, it feels like. Play rough into Gleam is still an immense amount of damage, though. Yeah, I think I'd rather go for that than switch in mindlessly. So yeah, they're gonna Pollen Puff themselves. That's gonna heal them back to full. That's fine. The key thing here is we want their Xerneas to pick up a KO onto something. And Specs Gleam into play rough, like we're taking advantage of their ability right now, right? Which is pretty sweet. Yeah, that's pretty bulky though. They're gonna Geomancy. Wow. Oh, that is an immensely good call on their end. I don't think I respected that option enough. That is really well done. And then partially I was kind of just expecting Play Rough to do more. Which is frustrating because if I actually went for the self-Shadow Sneak play that I wanted to make last turn, it would probably just be game over. Well, not necessarily. They have Incin as a switch, and I'm sure. Nicely done. You're gonna Pollen Puff again. I'm gonna go for the Shadow Sneak here, quite frankly, because I can't just stand and keep attacking, because we're only gonna deal less damage now. They're just gonna heal themselves up. They have the +2 Spadef, so Feeney's not doing as much. If they Moonblast here into the Calyrex, they will just win the game. Yeah, so I was like trying to play around a crit last turn. Gleam might even just KO us. I don't know. Maybe we can survive. Let's see. It's the Pollen Puff that changes everything here too, but it's just such a good attack. Like, I think if you're running Amoonguss Xerneas, you should absolutely have Pollen Puff on Amoonguss. Otherwise, yeah, you're missing out. Okay, they go for Gleam, so I'm hoping Calyrex maybe survives this. Okay, we still have a chance then. I don't think I needed to be so afraid of a critical hit last turn on a Calyrex. Like, I should have just switched it in immediately, but it's okay. I can bring in Lurantis now because that covers for you switching into Incineroar, but the problem is I'm running out of turns of Trick Room here. There's 2 turns of Trick Room left. So if you're my opponent, protecting Xerneas and pivoting Amoonguss out into Incineroar seems like the play. If they have Clear Smog on this thing as well, it's just doomed. So I am going to superpower the Amoonguss slot and Glacial Lance here. You could make the play to not protect Xerneas. Okay, I see what they're going for. They're just going to get a free switch into Incineroar, which I think is very smart. Yeah. That's actually the best play they could have made. It was such a good call on their end to Geomancy turn 2. And so my mistake in this game was not playing more aggressively and bringing in Calyrex sooner. Like I said, I was like nervous of a crit Moonblast onto that slot, but I don't think that's something we really need to be that afraid of. I guess what's interesting here is if you bring in Incineroar, you can only fake out one of the 2 Pokemon, and Lurantis will be at +2 attack, and Calyrex will also be at +2 attack. Well, you bring Calyrex, oh sorry, yeah, Calyrex is a +2, it's going to be a +3 now, you'll bring it back down to +2. So like, we potentially can knock out Xerneas with either Pokemon. I don't know if a Leaf Blade from Lurantis KOs Xerneas at the range that it's at, though. Probably not, but... Yep, there's Incineroar. This was a good game, though, by my opponent, and like, the matchup looked a little bit scary. I got the lead I wanted, but it was just them making a very nice turn 2 play. Okay, +2 attack, +1 defense, +2 attack. I'm not even sure +2 Glacial Lance KOs this thing, to be honest. It took the play rough pretty well earlier, so I wouldn't be surprised if it had some good defensive bulk. But it's going to be Leaf Blade into Glacial Lance. Now, what do I think their last Pokemon is as well? Probably Entei, if I had to guess. So Feeney would have a very good time in the endgame here if we actually knock out the Xerneas. But I suspect Xerneas will hang on with a very small amount of HP, regardless of who Fake Out goes into. Oh, they're going to target Calyrex. This gives Lurantis a chance to crit with Leaf Blade as well. But no crit. That's definitely has some defensive bulk, I think, because they took that play rough so well in the beginning of the game, and we weren't even intimidated. So, yeah, the key thing in this game was we had an opportunity to go for Self-Shadow Sneak. And that's the power of the Amoonguss with Pollen Puff. I can't stop that Pollen Puff from coming out. Yeah. So then the question is, other than that turn 2 Shadow Sneak switch, or turn 3 Shadow Sneak play, is there anything else I could have really done? Could have Moonblasted rather than Muddy Water, or Dazzling Gleamed, I guess. If I'm hard reading Amoonguss plus Xerneas as the lead, I could just go Feeney and... Yeah, you know what? I think not leading Mimikyu is the call here, and actually just leading Calyrex is the call. Because it has offensive pressure into Amoonguss. So if I go Feeney plus Calyrex, turn 1 I can just Muddy Water and Trick Room. And then it's like, well, if you want to switch into Incineroar to intimidate the Calyrex, you're going to get hit by a Specs Muddy Water. It's still not a guaranteed win even from that position. Xerneas is not super easy here. But their execution was better than mine, and it was really off turn 3, I would say. The lead was okay, but yeah, I think Feeny plus Calyrex is better. And then I could even switch Feeny out turn 1, I think. So, yeah. Okay. Honestly, though, yeah, that was just well played by my opponent. And, like, it's the Amoonguss that makes things trickier. It's also the Pollen Puff, like I said. But, yeah, if you're running Amoonguss Xerneas and you don't have Pollen Puff, I'd be really surprised. So that's a move you should absolutely expect in a matchup like that. And it's another Xerneas matchup. Okay. They don't have Amoonguss this time around, so that might make things a little bit easier for us, but they do have dual fires in Volk and Incineroar. But, like, Mienshao. I mean, Mantorb on Mimikyu makes this... I think here Mimikyu is a must lead for sure. But the question is who I want to pair next to it. I'm personally expecting the Mienshao. I think I like Mimikyu plus Feeny. The thing with Mienshao is we have to respect it having Focus Sash and Wide Guard. Don't love that. And if I give up Feeny too early on, then my Incin and Volk matchup is very bad. Maybe I still do just lead it though. You know what I can do with this lead? Actually, I'm not sure that really works out that well. Man, they're gonna have Wide Guard on that Mienshao. That's the problem. Incin, they don't have any good fire resist other than their Incin. I'm gonna go Mimikyu Feeny. What I can do turn 1... I mean, I could play rough, but... I think it's probably to switch Feeny out into Incin and then Trick Room. We have to eliminate Mienshao first, but the Wide Guard is the main issue here. Wide Guard is just so good into Calyrex-Ice Rider, and they're gonna be Focus Sash, I would assume. Well, they do have a Whimsicott on their team, so maybe not. I'd put the Sash there. Okay, they go with Mienshao and an Incineroar. Alright. That's not bad. Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with that. If Calyrex doesn't come out early, I would say that's a positive sign for us. The thing is, what do I want to do on turn 1? Ideally, both of these Pokemon are high priority for us to KO. Obviously, you could just fake out here in a Feeny, and I mean, Incin having Taunt isn't an issue. But if I don't Trick Room turn 1 and they do have Taunt, they could Taunt us again, and that would be a pretty big issue then. Fake out into Feeny and Parting Shot into Feeny here also feels likely. Feeny's just so good offensively here, it would feel weird to switch it out. But to be honest, the play I actually really want to make here is play rough into Mienshao and then switch Feeny out into Incineroar, then turn 2 fake out Trick Room, turn 3 Parting Shot. But they switch Mienshao out, okay. Well, I get a -1 play rough into Xerneas, but it's not ideal. I can fake it out next turn though, I guess, which is a start. A nice switch, although it frustrates me because I could have actually gone for like a Scald or any attack there with Feeny, but yeah, I think if I were my opponent's shoes, I would have gone fake out Parting Shot into Feeny. Okay, they do just go for fake out. So that's not that bad. This actually gives me an extra turn of Trick Room as well. And unlike the last game, they don't have Amoonguss, so they can't really sustain with Xerneas nearly as much, meaning every single little amount of damage we get onto is really critical, right? I think... I was going to say the play I want to make here is Trick Room plus Flare Blitz, but... this is the tough thing about Xerneas. You always have to respect it, Flare Blitz, even if it doesn't, I think. I guess I could actually just Parting Shot it here. The other play is you protect the Xerneas, you Parting Shot, and then you go out into Mienshao. I do think I want a Trick Room here. I'm going to Trick Room Parting Shot, but I think Xerneas probably protects here. Okay, they Dazzling. I'll take that. Very much like the last game, I was happy with them attacking early on. The problem for us here, or sorry, the problem with us in that last game was that they had really scary healing abilities, right? Or the potential to heal. But in this game, they can't really. Let me Lariat. Nice. They crit us, that's fine. Yeah, this is actually fantastic for us now. Because I get the Calyrex-Ice Rider in. And now, even if Xerneas Geomancies, it's actually not that big of an issue for us. The key thing is this next turn. I'm going to definitely Shadow Sneak, but the question is what I want to do with the Calyrex, right? High horsepower into the Incineroar slot is probably the play. But the thing is that +2 Glacial Lance does a ridiculous amount of damage to Incineroar still, and with Unnerve, you don't even heal back from a berry. But the thing is, then Incineroar can Parting Shot into Calyrex. It's just that they might hard switch out here. But I guess if you hard switch out, like, what are you really going into? So, I guess the one thing is I'm still nervous about them Geomancing, because that a +1 Moonblast is still scary. Should probably be high horsepower, though. I don't know, though. The thing here is I would actually hard switch the Incineroar out if I were my opponent. But I think I'll play it safe here. If they don't hard switch... Okay, they don't. Interestingly enough, though, they did not protect the Xerneas, and that was what I was nervous about. But we'll get to +3 immediately by KOing Incin, meaning that we can just high horsepower Xerneas later on. And they only get to +1 as well, so it's not that bad. But I think if I had just clicked Glacial Lance here, we do risk a crit Flare Blitz from Incineroar. Should be Geomancy here, I would think. If they Moonblast or Dazzling, I think this game's over. Nice. Alright, well, I said I think it's over. Hopefully no crit. Okay, fantastic. Drop doesn't matter there. Great. Now, you probably bring in the Mienshao. Oh, you know what's so sick right now? We have Mimikyu and Calyrex. They bring Volk. Okay, well, that makes sense. I was gonna say, one thing you can do that's really cool here is double Trick Room. What that allows you to do is reset your Trick Room and then get it up again, so then you have 5 more turns to work with. Volk coming out is interesting. I do think here I'm actually comfortable just going for Glacial Lance and switching this out into Tapu Fini. Because even if you're offensive Volcarona, the question is just whether or not it's worth high horsepowering, actually. Actually, I think the answer is yes. Go out into Incineroar here. And high horsepower Volcarona. Because Xerneas is not KOing us at -1. So it doesn't really threaten me offensively right now. Whereas Volcarona can threaten with like an Overheat or a Flamethrower, right? Even if Volcarona protects and Xerneas goes for Geomancy or Moonblast, it's not that bad for us. But I'm curious if they make the like Hail Mary play here. Okay, they switch out Xerneas. I'm very okay with that. That's fine. It's gonna be the Mienshao coming in. Volcarona is gonna protect. Okay, so that was a really good play by them. But I think it's okay, right? Well, I guess what this allows you to do is fake out my Calyrex now, which is pretty cool. But I can just fake out Volcarona. We can trade fake outs. And Mienshao is very unlikely able to protect, right? Plus Fini is in a pretty good endgame state. That was a really good turn by them, though, I'd say. Yeah, I guess we just trade fake outs, and then I can double up on your Mienshao. Unless for some reason they don't fake out into Calyrex here. I can fake out Mienshao to break Sash, but it won't flinch it because of Inner Focus, unfortunately. So, yeah. Okay. Nervous about Quiver Dance here. I can Parting Shot into... Yeah, honestly, the play I like here is Parting Shot into Mienshao and then High Horsepower into Volcarona. Like, Volk probably protects again, but a Mienshao is not doing much damage at -1 attack. Oh, and they don't protect. That's huge. Okay, fantastic. That should get the KO. Nice. That should put us in a very commanding position. But the thing is, I still have to watch out for Xerneas now actually clicking Geomancy. That's pretty scary. But I get Mimikyu in for free. I have Fake Out pressure. Nah, Xerneas can definitely pull off this comeback right now, though. But you can't deny me Trick Room and Geomancy. Because I have 2 Trick Room users right now. I don't even think double knockoff into Calyrex is a KO. Oh, they close combat. Perfect. Okay, nice. Okay. If Xerneas doesn't Geomancy, this game should be won. And I don't think you can knock out both Pokemon here. The only question is, like, I don't want to Trick Room with both Pokemon in this position. But I think what works here is Trick Room with Mimikyu. Okay, let's think things through, because we have the numbers advantage here. I'm thinking Trick Room with Mimikyu and high horsepower into Xerneas. If we get the Trick Room up, then I just bring Feeny in, and then we can just go from there. So even if you Moonblast Calyrex for a KO, this should not knock out my Mimikyu, right? Knockoff does scare me a little bit, but they're at -1, so I wouldn't think it's a KO. So yeah, I'm going to go for Trick Room and high horsepower here. Because I feel pretty confident with Feeny and Xerneas' damage output in the late game. They just go for close combat. I'm guessing they're close combating and Gleaming here. Does Gleam KO Mimikyu? It might. Oh boy. Okay. It KOs Mimikyu, but Calyrex survives, and we don't miss high horsepower. Okay. That was their best play, though. So, props to them for finding that. How could I have played it better then? I don't think I can afford to just actually protect Calyrex and Trick Room there maybe works. Protect Calyrex and then Trick Room with Mimikyu maybe works in that position, I think. Yeah, because if I do that, you can't Geomancy and knock out. Well, then it's like I don't think knockoff at -1 KOs Mimikyu, but if it does, that'd be a problem. But the thing is, in that position, it's like, okay, if Xerneas just Moonblast Mimikyu, I get a free switch into Incineroar, then I can just fake out Xerneas Trick Room. And if you Geomancy, then you'd have to KO the Mimikyu there with like a crit knockoff, basically. I just wasn't sure how much knockoff was doing, but Mimikyu is bulky here, so he should survive. So, yeah, like, because of the play they made, it shows me that the play that I made wasn't super good, right? It's probably a damage roll there on the Calyrex. So, fortunately for us, Calyrex is so bulky it survives, but we're probably better off. Yeah, we're probably better off trying to, protect, because we have the numbers advantage, to protect Calyrex and Trick Room, bring an Incin, fake out Xern, Trick Room. I guess we're still at mercy of a critical hit from the Mienshao specifically. And since I don't even think Mimikyu feints to a crit knockoff, or sorry, regular knockoff, yeah, definitely won't KO. So then it's a question of whether or not they crit Mimikyu or Incineroar, I suppose. But yeah. Anyway, 2 Xerneas matchups, that's pretty interesting. Let's look for another one. Alright, it's going to be a Groudon one, and this definitely takes me back to game 4 yesterday, in which I went up against White Herb Groudon and Heatran. They got Dusclops. They don't have terrain control, so Feeny in general is okay here. Man, Lurantis is really interesting, especially with the Aqua Berry. I actually think this might be Lurantis' time to shine, which is cool. Definitely not bringing a Lecky. Honestly expected to be White Herb Groudon. That is just not an easy matchup for us, no matter how you shake it up. Serena Groudon, or just the Serena switch-in is very scary as well. Yesterday I was thinking a better lead I could have gone was Feeny plus Calyrex, right? No, sorry, that was in game 1, not in that matchup yesterday. It's a big question of whether or not they're White Herb or not, but I feel like they probably will be. I want to go Incin, Feeny, Mimi, Calyrex. Wait, then I don't get to bring Lurantis, though. Okay, maybe I don't bring Mimikyu. How good is Mimikyu here? It's not amazing. It's mainly for Trick Room and Self-Shadow Sneak. I guess that's a good enough reason to bring it. Yeah. It's just the item on Groudon. I think if it's White Herb, this is very hard. That's the lead I was kind of expecting, so let's see if you're White Herb or not. If you're not White Herb, this is actually super doable, because what we can do is potentially just double up on Groudon. Actually, even with White Herb, I mean, it depends on how invested Groudon is and whether or not it one-shots Incin. Because what I could do, just Flare Blitz Moonblast at turn 1. They're slower than Feeny. That's a very important piece of information. Okay. It's not White Herb. Okay, that's a very big deal. Now, if you're my opponent, you probably want to pivot that Groudon out into Incineroar. I could Parting Shot here, but I could also just Flare Blitz Serena. I do think I want a Parting Shot here. I'm going to go for a Parting Shot and a Muddy Water. Just gets chip damage across the board here. They stayed in with Groudon, though. I was very heavily contemplating Flare Blitz Moonblast into Groudon. I mean, good damage there. Now I prefer Scald. Unless they're Policy. You get an accuracy drop, which is a huge deal. Okay, they just go for power. It's probably just Power Whip Precipice Blades then? Wow, that is so much damage. And because of the accuracy drop, Incineroar actually dodges it, which is very fortunate. Okay, they honestly did not play turn 1 the way I expected to. I thought instant switching was pretty imminent, but I guess they just felt like they could deal damage immediately, which makes a lot of sense. Had I gone Scald Flare Blitz on the Groudon, that may have just been a KO. Okay. Yeah, I honestly want to bring Lurantis in right now. I could go Lurantis Calyrex, like, you're at -1 already with Groudon. You're at -2 with Serena, so like I honestly want to just Trick Room here. Heat Crash and Sun at -1, it like still scares me a little bit, but I could pivot out into Incin and Trick Room. But I like having Lurantis out on the field right now, truth be told. But yeah, the play I want to make here is Superpower into Groudon. That covers for a switch in. Well, what's more likely to switch out, actually? It's probably Serena, right? Okay, yeah, I'm going to Superpower Trick Room here. I feel like Calyrex should survive. It is Groudon switching out, that's fine. Into Incineroar. But the thing is, now Lurantis is actually in a very interesting position in the remainder of the match. Man, had I called that correctly, though, would have been sick. Okay, they go for Triple Axle. It shouldn't deal that much. Serena's damage output is pretty impressive. That's a -2 Serena. It still does that much. But Superpower is now ramping up very quickly. More importantly, I get Trick Room up. How fast is their Incineroar relative to our Lurantis? I would think we outspeed, right? 56. Calyrex is 57. Okay, yeah. The play I'm leaning towards making here is Protect and then switch out into Incin. But if you're my opponent, Calyrex is at -1, but Glacial Lance will get me back to neutral pretty quickly. I don't know if I want to switch here. I think I'm down to just Superpower and... Oh, let's not trick him again. Glacial Lance. You can only fake out one of my 2 Pokemon right now. You're going to fake out... Okay, into Lurantis, so that's fine. So we get the KO onto Serena, which gives me a boost now. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly why I wanted to bring Lurantis into this matchup. I get the smallest amount of chip damage onto Incineroar, but that's actually more than small. Is that a crit? No, not even. Okay. So that's good, because now I'm back at neutral with Calyrex. Now you're staring down a +2 attack, +1 defense Lurantis. It's a Eject Button Incineroar. Wow. That is interesting. And they bring Regieleki out, which is typically a good sign for us because that's literally the last Pokemon you want to bring out in Series 10 in a position like this. And Insane comes back in, so Lurantis gets yet another boost. The main thing I want to cover for right now, I think, is just Focus Sash on Aleki. We have 3 turns of Trick Room, so we have a lot of room to work with right now. Another thing we'll want to consider in this game is actually switching out Lurantis to Incineroar on our last turn of Trick Room so that I can fake out Trick Room again later on in the match. Just something to note. Now, me protecting here is fairly obvious, but even if they actually double protect here is probably just the play, I would think. They could hard switch their Incin out, but then they would just give me another boost. Yeah, I'm down for that. Like, you just brought a Aleki out into Trick Room. I guess the one downside is I think it was actually probably safe to protect Lurantis and just attack with Calyrex-Ice. Yeah, especially, yeah. That probably would have won us the game. They go fake out T-Bolt into Lurantis. Because here's the problem now. 2 turns of Trick Room left. Incin shouldn't have Protect. I don't know, though. It is a check button, so it makes me nervous. And this is probably sashed. What I can do is just Superpower into Incineroar. Does +2 Flare Blitz KO this thing is the other question. Because I almost want to double up onto a Lecky, but if I'm my opponent, yeah, I don't know. I think I just like Superpower and Glacial Lance here because that's a guaranteed KO onto the Incineroar slot. And if they switch out into Groudon, Groudon just faints, and then we should win the endgame with Incin plus my Calyrex. But I think last turn it was correct to... Okay, they just stay in. That's good. I think last turn it was correct to protect Lurantis and just Glacial Lance with Calyrex. Because had we done that, we would have broken a Sash on Lecky, and then Lurantis should fully sweep. But that's okay. I could have high horsepowered here, of course, but I didn't want to risk missing, and I also wanted to cover for the Groudon switch in. Ah, they're not Focus Sash. And single target even with Intimidate, we just get the knockout. Okay, perfect. This was the best possible Lurantis demonstration, actually, so I'm really, really glad in our final game we got to show off just how strong it can be. Now, they did time the Sun perfectly, but at this point, with Trick Room still being up... Okay, the one thing I want to respect is Iron Ball Groudon here. We could still lose if it is Iron Ball. We haven't seen the item yet. In turn, they were slower than Tapu Fini. But if you're Iron Ball here, you can't pick up a double knockout with Precipice Blades and Heat Crash. And it's the last turn of Trick Room. And we have Aqua Berry. So I think it's actually correct to just Leaf Blade here. No need to switch and Glacial Lance. Yeah. Cool. And they just end up forfeiting. Well, that was a great demonstration by Lurantis, and I'm glad we can show off that this Pokemon can be so good when you're playing into an Incineroar. So we'll have to recover a little bit after having a somewhat tricky matchup against Groudon yesterday. But I think, like, as you may, today we played Xerneas in Game 1 and Game 2, and those matchups were very different because in Game 1 they had an Amoonguss. Without the Amoonguss, it was a lot easier to play around. And then yesterday's Groudon team had Heatran and Shedinja. Groudon itself isn't super scary. Like, we have Incineroar to intimidate it. Like, yesterday we ran into the worst combo possible, right? It's like the White Herb on the Groudon, the Substitute on Heatran, and the Shedinja with Protect. The combination of all that was really tough to deal with, whereas here it's like, okay, Groudon didn't even have White Herb, and then it doesn't have partners that really threaten me too much. So this matchup, for example, was a little bit easier to play around relative to the Groudon matchup yesterday. But yeah, that was a super, super fun Lurantis game specifically, and I couldn't have asked for a better match with it. And, it's counterintuitive to think Lurantis would be really good when your opponent has Incineroar and Groudon, but that's the thing, right? It actually punishes Incineroar super heavily, and everyone's main answer to Calyrex-Ice typically is that Incineroar, right? And so it's like, even as you switch in, Superpower can just knock out the Incineroar, you get a boost, and you just snowball so quickly, and it's like, if you're playing against someone with Incineroar, how could they not bring it against the Calyrex-Ice Rider team, right? It feels like it must come out in the matchup, so we were able to use that towards our advantage, and I think turn 1, we obviously got pretty lucky dodging the Precipice Blades on Incineroar, but I think in the long run probably didn't even end up mattering because it's not like our Incineroar was really in danger of getting KO'd there. It'd basically be whether or not they critical hit there. But if they don't, then we still get the parting shot. I still get the Lurantis Calyrex double position, and we're still in a really good spot from there. I think one thing that was really huge for us is that my opponent didn't bring Dusclops in that matchup, so they couldn't reverse my Trick Room. So yeah, we were actually able to get Trick Room up relatively effectively and then have two things that were both really strong sweepers. And the thing about Calyrex-Ice Rider is that it's just, there's so few Pokemon can effectively switch into a Glacial Lance, right? If you look at my opponent's team, the only thing really was Incineroar, but they brought that out early on in the game. And so when that's already out on the field, then you don't have it as a switch-in, meaning that's why I was, opting for Glacial Lance over something like the high horsepower because it just punishes switch-ins super heavily. So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thanks so much as always for watching. I had a lot of fun with this team. Definitely really cool to see Calyrex-Ice Rider continue to thrive, and I'm really glad we got a very solid Lurantis game in here out of all the matches. So yeah, thanks once again to Bass for the team. Thanks to you all as always for watching. We'd like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.